The United States military is powered in part by China. That is not an exaggeration. From the advanced radar systems on F-35 fighter jets to the propulsion systems in nuclear submarines, nearly every modern American weapon relies on one essential resource, rare earth elements. And right now, the global supply chain for those critical minerals is dominated by Beijing, as I frequently discuss here on my channel. This is one of many reasons why, as the Trump administration began waging a trade and tariff war on China, it likely miscalculated the degree of its reliance on Beijing's critical export that Washington quite literally cannot do without. It is funny, too, that the United States would need Chinese products to prepare for a possible war with China. Take a single F-35 jet, for example. It contains over 920 pounds of rare earth. A Virginia-class submarine needs more than 10,000 pounds of rare earth elements. These elements are the silent power behind missiles, satellites, drones, lasers, tanks, and virtually everything in the Pentagon's arsenal. But here's the problem. China controls over 85% of rare earth processing and more than 90% of permanent magnet production, which is a key application of these minerals. The United States has become so reliant on Chinese supply chains that, in the words of one former Department of Energy official, and I quote here, "we're effectively having to ask China's permission to build our weaponry." Ironically, rare earths aren't actually rare. They're relatively abundant across the globe, including in the United States. But decades ago, the United States abandoned its own rare earth industry, shattering mines, cutting research, and closing the U.S. Bureau of Mines. China, at the same time, leaned in and developed the industry. It invested heavily, built up capacity, and has now locked down the entire ecosystem, the entire industry, from raw mining to high-tech separation to magnet production. So how did we get here? How did the United States get here? Well, the seeds were planted in the 1990s when environmental regulations, market volatility, and a lack of long-term planning, as simple as that, led U.S. lawmakers to outsource critical mining operations. China saw an opportunity and it took it, and why wouldn't it? China has the capacity and the cutting-edge, unparalleled industrial infrastructure to process resources. And right now, America's defense contractors are caught in a web that they can't untangle overnight. From the U.S. perspective, it's quite clear that the current setup makes the United States quite vulnerable. And what's more, it's not just vulnerability in the military sense of the word. This vulnerability became painfully clear during President Trump's trade war with Beijing. In response to Trump's tariff and trade restrictions, China imposed export controls on several types of rare earths and magnets. Prices spiked across the world, supply chains froze, and Western defense manufacturers were left scrambling for materials. Even today, rare earth negotiations remain a pressure point between the United States and China. But Washington now likely knows its weak spot, but can't do much about it. It goes without saying that rebuilding America's rare earth independence is no small task. It is not going to be done overnight, and certainly it requires quite substantial investments. Trump issued executive orders to boost critical mineral security, poured funding into domestic projects, and investigated vulnerabilities in our supply chains, to a degree, of course. Previously, we did see Biden expand on those efforts too, somewhat tapping the Defense Production Act and also offering major tax incentives through the Inflation Reduction Act to promote domestic mineral sourcing and processing. But the results are far from impressive, let's be honest. Over 95% of rare earth materials or their processing still comes from China. The United States has just one rare earth mine in operation right now at this point in time. We just have one MP Materials Mountain Pass facility located in California. And while that's a start, sure, the road from mine to magnet is long and quite complex. That's why the Pentagon has stepped in. The Department of Defense is now the largest stakeholder in MP Materials, a private company. It's investing billions of dollars of taxpayer money, of course, into building a rare earth magnet factory, and it is expected to launch in 2028. The Pentagon has pledged to purchase the factory's entire output, effectively creating a price floor to protect it from market fluctuations. So yes, we are investing our federal resources, our federal financial resources, into a private company. This marks one of the most aggressive forms of state intervention in the minerals industry in modern U.S. history, and likely in modern history in general. The goal is to create a domestic mine-to-magnet supply chain that is insulated from Beijing's influence. By 2027, all U.S. defense contractors will be required to use China-free rare earth magnets. But here's the harsh truth. Building a resilient rare earth ecosystem will take years, possibly decades. Saying we'll get this done by 2027 is naive at best. This isn't just about digging up dirt. It requires complex chemical separation. It requires advanced manufacturing infrastructure, trained scientists. How are the educational institutions doing, by the way, in the United States? It also requires skilled labor and massive capital. China has a 30-year head start with specialized knowledge, with highly trained individuals, with well-educated scientists. It has labor at an efficient price point, and it has logistics networks that are hard to replicate. And China isn't sitting still, of course. It's expanding rare earth mining in Myanmar, for example, investing in overseas acquisitions, and also formalizing a national registry of rare earth scientists to keep the technical know-how readily available. China is doing all the right things to advance its capabilities. Last year, China signed more foreign mining deals than it ever had in over a decade, signaling its commitment to cementing its control. As one analyst put it, China is not doing business differently, they're just doing more of it. Meanwhile, the United States is still playing catch-up. Yes, the Pentagon is putting serious money on the table, serious taxpayer money on the table, just to be clear. And yes, lawmakers are finally paying attention to this somewhat, but one could argue that time is not on America's side. We are in a race for mineral independence while waging economic war on the entire world. Strategic autonomy in the 21st century isn't just about weapons or troops. It's about who controls the materials those weapons depend on. And right now, that control lies with a geopolitical rival that the United States loves to hate. So perhaps it would have been wiser to use diplomacy and not resort to good old failing economic sanctions when dealing with the rival that we completely depend on. What are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below. As always, I would love to hear from you. Thank you very much for joining me for yet another video. I appreciate your time. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit like, subscribe, it goes a long way, and also follow me on Substack and Patreon. Support my work. I appreciate every single one of you. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Take care.